Finally, we're able to meet you. Arriving late to the luxurious restaurant, I was stunned when her parents, who were the parents to my blind date partner Samantha, said this to me tearfully. Since graduating from middle school, I've been working at a metal parts processing company. Employees who joined the company after me, either high school or college graduates, have higher salaries. Some even became managers above me, but I'm still just a regular employee. Being looked down upon and ridiculed for being a middle school graduate and a regular employee was painful, but I felt fortunate just to be working as a full-time employee. One day, my boss proposed a blind date for me. Surprisingly, the prospective bride was the daughter of the CEO of our prime contractor's parent company.
"It seems the CEO likes you. You're lucky,"
my boss said, patting me on the back cheerfully. Though my boss looked happy for me, I was shocked and confused by this unexpected news. A blind date? That doesn't really suit me. Why? I was perplexed, but my boss seemed sure I would accept, and I was afraid to decline because of possible repercussions for the company. So, I agreed to the blind date. The blind date was held at a luxurious restaurant. From the entrance, it looked so grand that I hesitated, wondering if someone like me belonged there. Still, I had made a promise and had to go. So, as I gathered my courage, I stepped forward into the restaurant. Walking down a hallway with a nice aroma of luxurious fine wood, I was led to a private room by an elegant waitress who was dressed nicely. "Here you go, sir." My knees were shaking and my stomach tightened painfully. Upon entering the room, I found the CEO's daughter, Samantha, waiting there. She was wearing an expensive-looking dress and sat with a straight back.
"Nice to meet you. I'm Nick. I look forward to spending our time together today."
As I greeted her, I saw her displeased gaze. "What's with that ridiculous outfit? Are you joking?" I stared down at my clothes. This was the black suit I'd bought for my parents' funeral, the only formal wear I had. I figured wearing a black tie would be inappropriate, so I bought a decent one the day before and wore it. I thought I had done my best to dress appropriately.
"I apologize."
I felt pathetic, only being able to apologize. But I couldn't upset the daughter of the CEO of our prime contractor's parent company. I was told that her parents would be late due to work. "I haven't seen your blind date photo or any information about you. Which university did you graduate from? Where do you work?" I truthfully told her that I dropped out after middle school and worked in a factory as a regular employee. "What? Not even a high school graduate? And you work in a factory?" She was furious, as if she was on fire. "Why do I have to have a blind date with someone so poor? What are my parents thinking? I can't believe this." I felt deeply hurt by her words and wondered why I had to go through this.
Could this be some kind of test against me?
Just as I was thinking this, her parents appeared.
What's going on here?"
When I asked, they began to recount memories of their daughter from when she was a child. Samantha, who was 5 years old at the time, had come to their villa in Hawaii with her parents during the summer vacation. They stayed there for 2 weeks. Around the same time, a family with a 7-year-old boy, 2 years older than Samantha, was staying in a nearby villa. On their first day, they encountered each other during a walk and exchanged greetings. Due to their close ages, Samantha and the boy quickly bonded and played together almost every day. Samantha would often chase after the boy, proclaiming in childlike innocence, "When I grow up, I'm going to marry you." Both Samantha's and the boy's parents watched their closeness with fond smiles. Initially, when the children ventured out, their mothers accompanied them. However, as the children became more acquainted with the area and no longer got lost, they were allowed to play just by themselves. Naturally, the parents always reminded them of safety rules: to not do dangerous things, to not enter the river, to not follow any strangers, and so on. One day, they noticed that Samantha was missing from the villa. However, her parents assumed she was probably at the boy's villa and were not overly concerned, until the boy came to get her.
"Is Samantha here?"
Upon hearing this from the boy, the parents were taken aback. They informed him that she wasn't there, prompting the boy to rush off immediately. Soon after, a search for Samantha began, involving the boy's parents, but they couldn't find her. Later, they were informed by a local about a landslide near a cliff. Upon arriving at the scene, the group discovered Samantha and the boy lying at the bottom of the cliff. Fortunately, they weren't being buried alive, but the boy was found shielding Samantha, who was bleeding significantly. They immediately called an ambulance, and both were taken to the hospital. After the examination, it was found that Samantha had minor bruises and cuts, which relieved her parents. However, the boy had fractured his spine and was left with a deep wound on his back.
"It's your daughter's fault that my son will have a scar for the rest of his life."
The boy's mother was enraged. Samantha's parents deeply apologized and expressed a desire to apologize to the boy directly. However, the boy's mother refused them from visiting him and promptly had him transferred to another hospital. They only knew the phone number of their villa, so Samantha's parents never got the chance to apologize to the boy afterwards. While grateful to the boy for saving their daughter's life, they were always distressed about the injuries the boy had.
"Where did you go, Nick?"
Samantha was devastated when the boy suddenly disappeared and cried for days. On the day of the accident, Samantha wanted to give the boy a present before leaving the villa. She was exploring the forest alone. She spotted beautiful flowers growing below a cliff and carefully began to descend to pick them.
"Samantha, what are you doing?"
That's when the boy saw Samantha and called out to her. As the boy reached out to pull her up, pebbles and sand began to fall from above, quickly leading to a landslide.
"Watch out!"
The boy rushed to Samantha, lifting her off the ground, and they both fled the scene as fast as they could.
"I have to find that boy. I want to apologize to him. I want to take care of him forever."
Samantha pleaded desperately to her parents.
"You're the boy from that time, aren't you?"
Though I didn't recognize her as the daughter of a company CEO at first, after hearing her parents' story, I remembered. She was the same Samantha who I used to play with often in Hawaii and whom I saved from the landslide. I nodded in silence.
"I saw you when I visited the factory you work at because of my business. In that moment, my memory of that boy and you overlapped. Since then, I had someone look into you. Nick, you've had it tough, haven't you?"
My father was a businessman who owned a villa in Hawaii, and we were well off. But unfortunately, that didn't last. The following year, the co-owner of the company who my father worked with embezzled company funds, leading to a downturn in the company's performance. Due to significant debt, my father went bankrupt and declared personal bankruptcy. He had to sell the villas and our mansion and began living in a rented apartment. My mother, who was used to luxury, couldn't bear the change and divorced him. She left him behind and moved out. 6 months after the divorce, my father remarried, and my stepmother was already pregnant. Seeing as an inconvenience in their new life, I was sent to live with my grandmother, where I spent my childhood there. Without any financial assistance from my father, my grandmother raised me with her pension. Not wanting to burden my grandmother, I decided to work after middle school. I intended to repay back to my grandmother, but she passed away before I started to work, with a relieved expression, seemingly content that she knew I could stand on my own feet. Having changed locations frequently, it's likely that the CEO and his wife couldn't locate me for a long time. Thank you so much for everything back then. We deeply regret causing you a lifelong scar. Please allow us to express our gratitude and apologize. To this I tell them, I did what I did, out of my own will, so there's no need to thank me or apologize to me. After speaking to her parents, I turned to Samantha. I'm sorry, Samantha. You probably didn't wish for a blind date with a poor man like me, who only completed middle school. I shouldn't have forced you into this. Let's pretend this never happened. Samantha reached out her hand with a pale face at my words.
Wait, please. I'm truly sorry. I didn't realize you were the same person from back then. That's why I made such a disrespectful comment.
Samantha's parents questioned her, clearly disturbed, wanting to know what she had said. Hanging her head, Samantha confessed she had disrespected me for wearing cheap clothes and for being a factory worker with only a middle school education.
We thought introducing our daughter to you, Nick, today would make her very happy. We didn't expect her to say such things. It's also our fault that our daughter was raised to look down on others. We're truly sorry.
Her parents apologized to me multiple times, deeply remorseful, and Samantha also tearfully apologized.
It's okay, I don't mind. I'm not ashamed of being a factory worker with only a middle school education. I take pride in my job and find it fulfilling.
It's inevitable that there are people who can only judge others based on money, status, or education. They grew up in such an environment and truly believe that their way is the right way. I just need to avoid getting involved with such people like that. It's sad, but the girl I knew as Samantha when she was 5 years old has changed.
Could you show me the scar on your back?
Samantha asked me nervously. I took off my jacket and slowly lifted my shirt. A scar which was about 15 centimeters long was visible on my back. It used to be smaller, but it grew larger as I grew up. The sound of the three of them gasping in shock made me feel guilty. I didn't show them the scar on my back to make them feel guilty.
It's fine, I can't see it myself anyway,
I replied with a smile as tears were streaming from Samantha's eyes.
Please, could we start the blind date over? Not based on education, company, or wealth. I want to know more about who you really are. Please, give me a chance.
I told her that there's no need to feel obligated just because I saved her life. I also expressed how happy I was to meet her again. Yet, no matter how much I tried to persuade her, she wouldn't give up. I couldn't help but smile, realizing that this part of her hasn't changed. I proposed to her to start our relationship as friends, not with marriage or anything like that in mind. Talking with her, I felt that she, being raised in a privileged environment, has some prejudice and was somewhat selfish. But that was just due to her ignorance or the influence of her surrounding environment. She was willing to listen to what I had to say, and when she realized her mistakes, she was honest enough to acknowledge and accept them. Similarly, she introduced me to new knowledge and information, and I felt my horizons expanding. Though our differing backgrounds and beliefs led to many disagreements, we always tried to understand each other through discussions until we both felt satisfied.
Since Samantha started dating you, Nick, her expressions and the way she speaks have become much softer."
Upon hearing her father's words, Samantha blushed but showed a happy expression. And 5 years later, I married Samantha, and now a testament to our love is growing inside her. After the marriage, I joined the metal processing division of the company run by my father-in-law, using my on-the-ground knowledge.
If I hadn't met you again, I might have turned out to be the worst kind of person. I'm truly grateful that I got to marry someone who humbled me and taught me there are things more valuable than money or status.
Samantha said that, reflecting on the blind date where we had reunited. I never thought I'd end up marrying the woman who once looked down on me and belittled me. Was our fate decided when we first met at the villa in Hawaii? Realizing that such encounters are possible, I decided to engage with people in the future without being swayed by their outlooks and judge their personalities based on that, and instead look into their true nature.